love him or hate him, one thing you've got to give to President Trump is that he says what he thinks, what he believes, what he feels. He says it how it is, on the nose, keeps it simple. And in this example, he gets it perfectly right. And he shows how simple the truth is. And people tie themselves up in knots, trying to complicate things and so that they can make things look like they're not the way they are. But the facts of the matter are simple, plain and simple. The truth is simple. It's obvious. Everybody knows it. For whatever reason, there are millions of people around the world tying themselves up in knots, pretending that it's not so simple. You know, there are some people who, have skin in the game, Palestinians, etc. It's understandable that they are, that they have the opinions that they have and the positions they have. But all of these, spoiled white kids on the streets or in campuses across the US who've never been in the Middle East and hardly experienced a real challenge in their lives, for some reason believe that it's virtuous to tie themselves up in knots, pretending that it's complicated or that the truth is the opposite of what it is, when the truth is clear, the truth is very simple, and Trump very directly says it exactly how it is. Let's have a look.
Are you confident there'll be a deal before January 20th, or is that something that's likely to happen, if there's a deal even at all? We've been hearing this now for the better part of...
I know. I would say...
They better be.
Right. I would say that the president is exasperated. I don't want to talk for him, but look, I don't know anyone who delegates better than President Trump. He gives us a lot of authority to speak on his behalf, and he exhorts us to speak emphatically. And emphatically means you better do this, because the alternative...
Do you think they're waiting for President Trump to take office?
No, I think they heard him loud and clear. Better get done by the inaugural.
But when you say all hell will be
Before
paid,
I take office.
all hell must be paid if they don't release the hostages.
You know what that means, don't you?
Well,
do I have to define it for you? Look, all
No, I know
hell
you're not
will
gonna
break out.
telegraph
If
what-
those hostages aren't back, I don't want to hurt your negotiation. If they're not back by the time I get into office, all hell will break out in the Middle East.
Can you elaborate?
And it will not be good for Hamas, and it will not be good, frankly, for anyone. All hell will break out. I don't have to say anymore, but that's what it is. And they should have given them back a long time. They should have never taken them. There should have never been the attack of October 7th. People forget that. But there was, and many people are killed. They're no longer hostages. I have people from Israel and others calling, begging me to get, we had also people there from the United States, just so you know. They're holding some so-called hostages from the U.S. But I've had mothers come to me and fathers crying, can I get the body of their son back? Can I get the body of their daughter back? That beautiful girl where they threw her in the car, pulled her by her ponytail and threw her in the car like she was a sack of potatoes. I said, what happened to her? Sir, she's dead. Like a 19, 20-year-old beautiful girl. And the way they treated her. And I just say it this very simply. Steve's got a job to do. He's a great guy, great negotiator, great person. They respect him over there already. It's what we needed over there. We have people that know everything about the Middle East, but they can't speak properly. They don't know. He's a great negotiator. That's what I needed. I could have sent that gentleman right over there, Hussein. He's a great negotiator. There are people, they're rare. Great negotiators are very rare, like a great surgeon. But we have the right person. But I tell this, I don't want to hurt the negotiation. If the deal isn't done before I take office, which is now going to be 2 weeks, all hell will break out in the Middle East. Okay?
Thank you, Mr. President.
You've done a great job.
Thank you.
I like how Trump, reflects it back to the journalist or whoever it is and says, well, do I have to explain it to you? Do I have to define it for you? It's very simple, and Trump says 3 things. October 7th should never have happened. Hamas should never have murdered the people they murdered, etc., etc., and they never should have kidnapped Israeli civilians as hostages. And they should have given them back once they did. Hamas today has in captivity Jewish babies that have spent 75% of their lives in captivity. Babies that were kidnapped at several months old and have been in captivity since before they could walk, been there for, well over a year now. This is on them. It's not complicated. It's very simple. A bunch of barbaric animals broke into Israel, murdered more than 1,000 civilians in cold blood in some of the most barbaric, monstrous behavior that humanity has ever seen. Some of them took videos of themselves celebrating over the phone with their parents how many Jewish babies they just killed, murdered, executed. Yeah, that shouldn't have happened. It's very simple. And this is 100% on Hamas. It's very simple. There's nothing complicated about this. And frankly, if they don't give them back, all hell should break loose for them. Honestly, all hell should have broken loose a lot more than it did a year ago. Israel should have kept up the pressure that they started with at the beginning and pushed back in the beginning when Hamas was begging for hostage deals, giving back 50 hostages at a time. If Israel hadn't done what they always do and softened up and started backing down and giving into pressure, they would have maintained that pressure so that Hamas was begging for another deal and begging for another deal, giving back 50 hostages at a time. All of the hostages would have been home a year ago, and this war would have been over a year ago, and everyone would have been better off for it. So yeah, all hell should break loose for Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad. And frankly, every single person in Gaza who celebrated October 7th, every single person who was in the streets screaming Allahu Akbar on October 7th, because they heard that Jewish babies had been executed and old Jewish people had been burned alive in their cars, over 1,000 civilians murdered in their homes, in their sleep, in their cars, civilians, babies, elderly people. Every person who celebrated that, every person in the streets screaming Allahu Akbar, every person giving out candies, every person dancing, every single one of those people deserves exactly what they get. And frankly, all hell should break loose for every one of them. Anyone who celebrated October 7th deserves it. Anyone who has any information now that could lead to a hostage being released or liberated and doesn't deserves it. And yeah, all hell should break loose for every single one of them, and it can't come soon enough. It's very simple. One thing that Trump does very well, love him or hate him, is he keeps it simple. And this is simple. The reason that people complicate it is because they're trying to obfuscate the truth that is simple. So by creating fake pseudo-complexity, they attempt to conceal the extent to which they're distorting the truth and lying. And some of them are doing a good job because a lot of people bought into it. But the bottom line is the truth is plain and clear and simple. October 7th never should have happened. They should never have taken civilians. They never should have taken babies as hostages. And once they did, they shouldn't have given them back. And every day that they don't is a day on which they deserve for all hell to break loose.